Octopus Gloves here, and this is the 4th video in the Harmor from the Ground Up tutorial series. And today we're going to be talking about the subharmonics, the protection, and the clipping units. If you are unfamiliar with compression, we're going to cover it really fast, but I'm going to cover it sort of abstractly. Okay, so subharmonics. So if we have a tone, let's go to a default patch just to be safe. So here's a tone, and we can introduce, so here's our fundamental. If we turn on our subharmonic, it'll make a tone an octave below that tone. So as you can see it, there it is. And these other two tones, and if you turn it down, well, first off, if you turn this first slider down, you see that it reduces in volume. And so it's being taken away. If you turn all the way up, it's all the way there. Now, if we were to turn these guys up, they will introduce two more harmonics to our bass frequencies, but they will be based around the setting of around fundamental or below fundamental. So below fundamental is really easy. Below is, this is the first octave, this is 2 octaves below, and this is 3 octaves below. And you can very faintly see it actually goes off the grid. And so that's 2 octaves, that's 3 octaves. And around fundamental actually takes the fundamental, so this is still the octave below, but this introduces a tone of 3rd above the fundamental, and this introduces a tone of 5th above. So it is the harmonic series. So that's what those do. Now, once you have your bass and you are happy with your bass, and you do, but let's say, oh, I want to play notes way up here, but I want to use my low pass filter. Actually, that's pretty good right there. Let's play a note that's even higher. Let's play a note, say, around here. As you see, oh no, there's nothing there because we have not been good parents and we have not protected our sub bass from the dangers of the world. So if you turn on your protection, this evil processing does no longer affect our protection. And if we turn our low pass, our crude low pass off, you can hear the rest of the tone. So that's our filter. But if we turn our protection down and we turn our low pass on, so we're going to cover the filters later, but I have a number of series of videos devoted to filters, so just go check out one of those. I have one that's basic filter shapes in the DSP series. So that is what that is. So that's what these things do. That's what protection does. It just, later on, when you do processing and you want your bass to still hang around, you could use protection. And then you have this clipping. Now this is a compressor. So what a compressor is you basically set a threshold of volume, and when your sound passes this threshold, it will be compressed, meaning reduced in volume. So you could set like a ratio of 4:1. So for every 4 decibels past the threshold you set, so let's say you set a threshold at like 9 decibels and it goes 4 decibels beyond 9, well, it will only increase by 1 decibel. So it would technically be 4 more decibels louder, but you've told it to compress it down. Why would you do that? Well, this gives a chance for the quieter parts of your audio and your spectrum to get louder. However, so that's compression in a nutshell. Not the best. I have a Maximus here. Essentially, when your audio passes this line, you could set a rule that says compress it by this much, and it will bring your audio back down below this line. So if you have like some really quiet, maybe it's like hiss, your hiss will be brought up because you're compressing and the hiss hasn't passed the threshold yet. So it's a volume threshold we're talking about. But it's going to get like way more abstract right now. So if you didn't follow that, maybe I plan to do some more videos on compression, but I haven't really conquered it yet. But maybe you're watching this like way later, so there's probably some videos out. Otherwise, go get compression real solid in your head and the fundamentals behind it, because this clipping is a compression setting, but it's a compression setting for each individual harmonic, and that's where it like gets crazy. So if we play our notes and we set a high threshold, so it's I don't know what this threshold is. It's probably 0 dB or something. So it can't pass. Ideally, we can't really pass that threshold. It's been set really high. If we bring it down, we are setting our threshold lower, and so you can hear it affect our spectrum. However, remember, this is additive synthesis, so it's affecting each individual partial individually. So if we bring it back up, though, we'll get our volume back. So that's your typical one. We have a soft low threshold, and it actually works the opposite way. So this is very compressed. This is not compressed. And then we have a sharp low threshold. And so that's just a different ratio. These are referring to sharp as a harder ratio, like a 4-to-1 ratio versus a 2-to-1, or I guess a 1-to-1, 2-to-1 ratio. So for every 2 decibels past the threshold, it gains a decibel. And then we have hard low thresholds. This is the hardest one. And you can see the shapes definitely reflects our curve. So no sound, sound. And the difference, as you can see, we could create some interesting filter shapes from this. And then we have subtraction, which is just another threshold setting. It's represented quite well by the graph. So this may be worth messing with. Now remember, this is per harmonic. So if we go, there's a few envelopes I want to cover as well. We have our harmonic phase envelope. This controls the phase of all the harmonics individually. So on 99% of these graphs, you have your harmonics. And now this is actually quite nice. So you see these blue sections and these light blue sections. It's been made to be logarithmic. I believe it used to be linear. So it was kind of like mind-boggling. But now it's logarithmic. So now you can visually see it. But basically, there are only like 10 harmonics in the first octave before your signal doubles. So the way a signal works is like if you have a signal that starts at 2, to double it in an octave would be 4. And so you'd only have 2 harmonics in your first octave before you doubled it. But to double it to get to the next octave, you have to double it. So from 4 to 8, and then from 8 to 16. So all of a sudden, and now you have from 8 to 16, there's a whole bunch more harmonics there, but it's still just 1 octave. So here, our first harmonic is outrageously small. But our second harmonic has 2 harmonics. Then we have 4, as you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so this is our third octave already. So plus 2 octaves if we count this as like 1. So, and as we go up, we see that our last harmonic, this is the 9th one, has the most, and actually has visually as well as literally has more harmonics than all the other ones combined. And so, but you got to remember, these have been reduced in volume because that's naturally what happens using Brownian noise and so forth. But you can map the harmonic phase. So it's basically like having a start phase for each individual harmonic. So you can like make this one go here and that. And this could create some interesting phase cancellation later on, as well as just some interesting textures. Because with everything starting at a different phase against each other, you get some overlapping ratios. See, I got all these like abstract, like you got to study this stuff as you go, but you get phase cancellation, but that does not do it justice to what is actually going on right here, because you got to think about it. You have these things are oscillating at a smaller rate and they're going much faster and they're not as loud, but they still reduce the volume of lower rates when they hit a ratio. So let me try and make myself more clear, because this is cool. So we understand that pitch is one tone moving, but you got to understand that if we were to double this frequency, it would go twice in. So wherever the frequency is at a down, we reduce in volume. But if it's down over here, this is going, let's make this opposite. This is going down while this is going up. And the difference is what we hear. But because this is oscillating at a faster pace, those differences are much smaller. But this gets crazy because not only is everything starting at a different pitch and oscillating at different well, I guess it's all oscillating at different pitches. So these progressively move faster and the volume cuts become different. And because we're changing the phase individually, there might be adds and subtracts in weird ways and different patterns emerge. And so that's why this harmonic phase is really cool. So again, major concept, because I'm not going to cover it again. These are your harmonics. That's how the harmonics are laid out logarithmically. And you can graph their properties like that. And that's usually what these represent, how the spectrum. So this is the upper, and this is the 10th harmonic. I mean, the 9th harmonic, and it's messing with the stuff up here. I thought there was 10 harmonics, but it says right here, it says plus 8, and we're not counting the first one. So I don't even know. But anyways, this maps the phase of each one individually. This maps the harmonic level, so the amplitude individually, the harmonic levels. This maps the harmonic randomness. So harmonic randomness is basically randomizing not the pitch. It's just because the pitch is set by the fact that the harmonics are graphed. So you can't do that. You need a different map to do that. This is Well, they have a pitch one, but it's a little different. The harmonic randomness will therefore randomize the phase in the amplitude. So if we come over here to our 10th octave and we do some funky moves down here, maybe go down in volume and then have these two peaks above volume, above 0, and we play some notes, we see we have a hole, and we see we have some plus and a lot of plus, a hole, and that pretty much represents the shape that we just drew. Now, if we do that down lower, so if we were to play some low notes, we could create some resonance. So the peaks, I'm going to call it resonance. It could be called formants as well. But if we go down to our first octave and our second octave and then leave part of our third octave in there, we'll get a real funky shape because we just took out the bass essentially. But our third area, so these three guys are going to be like toast. As you see, they disappear. Except for we have our sub engaged right now. So the sub is sort of a special scenario. We're going to get rid of the sub. And as you can see, these two, but then we get a resonance peak right here. And that's what we're doing harmonically, but it's random. So every time you hit it, it's like we have a special random on this and on the amplitude. And it can sound really cool if we zoom out and we don't make such sharp changes to our bass, because we want our bass there. Bass is our friend, usually. And we could do something like this. We don't want to peak that strong. And so that's really cool for harmonic randomness. Then you have harmonic protection. So we talked about earlier how you could protect the low end, but as you can see, that's exactly what our graph is drawing. Here's the first harmonic, and it's protecting our low end, and it includes these guys because they come out into the third and fifth. Well, guess what? It goes into our next octaves. But we can get even crazier. So if we turn now this only works, this envelope is only as active as the subharmonic protection is active. So if we turn our harmonic protection on all the way, this envelope is now fully active. And so we could turn our crude low pass on. And there's actually ways to draw filter shapes, but this could be an option too. You could use your protection. So right now we're protecting our low end, but we could also say, I want these harmonics to be protected right here. And you can see it is so. And this area up here should be gone because if we get rid of this, see it's no longer there. But we could. So this no longer has dominion over that. But we've only protected it so much. We have to have them all the way up for them to be completely protected. So a really simple shape, for example, is we could simply do this and say, so even though our filter's all the way on and should be getting rid of these, we yet still have all of them. Our filter's essentially been neutralized. However, we can do a shape like this, and now it will still cut volume, but it will get weaker and weaker as we go down in the spectrum. As you see here, very easily represented. So that's what it is. That's what's going on. That's harmonic protection. I know I still haven't covered filters, but those are kind of down the road. And I'm assuming you have some general knowledge of filters. Again, I have a whole series on basic filters. So go check that out. Or not a whole series. It's in the DSP. It's a video. And harmonic protection. And then we have our harmonic clipping. So that ratio setting can be set. This is what I was talking about. You really need to get your grips around. Maybe get your wits around compression. But hopefully seeing a little demonstration, if you don't know or understand completely, maybe I did a good enough job that you understood it pretty clearly. I don't feel like I did a great job. But anyways, harmonic clipping, you can set the ratio, the threshold for each individual partial. So you can go like something like this. So these guys will be compressed much harder or less. I guess this is let's find out. Oh, now harmonic clipping is all the way on. It's an infinite threshold, so you don't want that. Oh, these are compressed harder, in fact, when you bring it down. And this is the harmonic clipping has no effect at the top. That's really interesting. So you could create some really interesting movement that way as well. You could change. And this will, I guess this setting as well, because it depends on where your harmonic clip is at, where you set your threshold. but you could change where it acts on a per harmonic basis. And that is really powerful. So that is this section. I hope I described it in a way that you could understand. This is why Harmor is so powerful. We haven't even gotten through we've gotten through like what? This much. We haven't even come over here yet, and we've already like got so much power at our fingertips. It's like obnoxious. So if we were to take, so I still have that previous thing we made, and that's turning the timbre mix. Oh yeah, there's one other thing. You can change the mix level. Where is it? Timbre 1 and 2 mix on a per harmonic basis. So you can change how much this mix knob actually affects the harmonic changing. Now, what's interesting about this is, so you have your harmonics, right? But it starts off at the top, if we notice here. So you could start off at the top, and you have to activate it. And this is an envelope. So these are a little bit different because you can change. I'm not going to talk about this quite yet because this is different as to ADSR and things. But it's interesting. That's what I'm talking about. There has to be different types of envelopes for different kinds of things. So yeah, I'm going to cover that later. But I kind of opened a can of worms. I forgot about that. But we'll cover it. Don't you worry about it. We'll probably talk about it in the next few videos here. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Let's make a cool sound real quick using our newfound protection knowledge in clipping. We're going to turn the protection off. We're not really going to use it. We're going to turn the sub on. What the heck? But we're going to use this clipping to clip crap. So we already have this, and it's automating the mix knob. And let's create a more interesting thing. We have to automate the clip now. So that's what we're going to do. And all we're going to do is automate those two things. We're going to change this to high threshold. And we've got some interesting, really low notes. Let's go to our Harmonic Randomness. Let's leave that where it's at. Oh, it's our filters all the way on. Okay, now let's try it. So you can see our compressor's really doing its job. So we could do something like this. And I'm not writing any kind of catchy rhythm right now, just, you know. And we could even do something like this. And if we brought our notes down even farther. So we've got the Harmonic Randomness, which is really adding a lot of grit to our sound. I'm allowed to use buzzwords now because you know exactly what those things do, or at least you should. That sounds pretty cool. Yes, I'm a bass. I like bass. Bass is my friend. We hang out together on Tuesdays and eat fried sushi. Or not fried sushi. You know what I mean? The baked tuna rolls, those are the best. Spicy tuna rolls. That's cool, man. Do that like 4 times in a row. So anyways, those are some interesting sounds you can make. As you can see, bass potential already there. You don't even need to know about filters. All you need to know about is compression, sort of a rip-off way of doing filters. Yeah, it's like whatever. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Subscribe if you enjoy these videos, and have a blessed day.